I believe that Maxwell is the greatest artist on the planet. This is in my mind, but there's a bunch of connection points with Maxwell for me. He's my favorite artist of all time. And he's someone that I want on the podcast. I believe that we need to have him here on the podcast. Not only is he one of the greatest, has one of the greatest voices, some of the greatest music, but also he has an incredible birthday, and that's May 23rd, 1975, and that happens to be my birthday too. So we're connected. I believe that. Musical artist Maxwell, you'll be on the podcast. De La Soul, we're coming for you too. I can't wait to have you guys on the podcast at some point. You guys don't know me yet, but you will. And so my wife and I, we went to the Maxwell concert the other night, and I was so excited. She was like, well, what time is the concert? Well, I asked her, and she said, it's 7:00. And I said, well, we should go to dinner before. And she's like, what time should we go? And I was like, maybe we should go at 4:30. And she's like, what are we, 90? And I said, no, I mean, we should go there like at maybe 4:30 or 5 because we're going to have to eat and then get to the concert. I didn't realize that Maxwell wasn't going to come on until 10 o'clock at night. But so my wife was like, I'm about to turn into a pumpkin. Then he came out and she wasn't turning into a pumpkin. She was like locked in. She was looking at him like maybe she shouldn't, as my wife, be looking at Maxwell the way that she was looking at him. But he happens to be probably the sexiest guy on the planet. So, you know, I mean, I understand. I completely understand. But as we were driving there on our date, she said something to me that really hit me. Is we were talking about like, there's a lot of people that will go deep into their feelings. And she said something to me. We were talking about like, things that stop people, and they'll be like, oh, well, say they have a traumatic experience and they just stay in that traumatic experience. And a situation that I think is on a positive with this is James Dixon. And James Dixon is a unilateral amputee, got his leg amputated when he was 11 years old without him even knowing. But as opposed to focusing on just the loss of his leg, he thought about all of the opportunity, and this is what he speaks on, all the opportunity in his life that he has now because of that thing. And so I was talking to my wife and I said, how does a person get out of their feelings? And she was like, just realize that it ain't that deep. And I was like, well, that sounds really simple. This is such simple wisdom. She was like, yeah. And I said, well, what happens when, the circumstances aren't perfect, or the scenario isn't perfect, or the timing isn't perfect? And my wife she's gangster. She just looked at me and she's like, you do it anyway. And then she went silent. And I was like, man, that is some simple, practical wisdom. And then, as you know, I took it to Proverbs 25. It hits us with simple, practical wisdom. And it echoes what my wife was talking about. Number one, it ain't that deep. Number two, just do it anyway. Even if you don't feel good, even if it doesn't feel good, even if it's not maybe the perfect timing, do it anyway. And you'll find that you get crazy, incredible results. So why don't we get this party started?
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
I believe that Maxwell is probably the most sexy man on the planet, and he's the voice of our generation. If you haven't listened to him, don't listen to him with someone who you don't want to have a child with. He is unreal. And now he equates, like in my head, because we went to this concert and it was phenomenal, but it was date night too. And I got to spend some time with my beautiful wife. And she just said those two things, like, it's not that deep. Like, she used to always say this to me as early on in our relationship, like, get out of your own head. Like, when I would have challenges in business or whatever, and I'm stewing over it, she's like, get out of your own head. And then she said this, like, it ain't that deep. It ain't that deep. Like, does it mean that she didn't have traumas or challenges or whatever it was? No, they were serious, but she was like, it ain't that deep. Let's keep it moving. Keep it moving. And honestly, like, even if you don't feel like it, do it anyway. If it's the right thing, do it anyway, even if you don't feel like it. And it's amazing what can happen. So this simplistic, practical wisdom was what was covered in Proverbs 25. And I'm so thankful for my wife because she smacks me upside the head. She keeps it simple. And she's like, it ain't that deep. Just do it anyway. And it's one of those things for me, which is tremendous. If you haven't got to the Vibe Room, check out the link. You can get tickets for that. It's a live version of the podcast. It's going to be amazing. We got Janae Thompson, we got Coach Keith Hale, got Baron Baptiste, Curtis Nieder on the guitar. He's going to be incredible. This will be an awesome night, phenomenal night. Sunny Days is our sponsor. They're our alliance partner, and I just want to thank you guys. Big shout out to you. Love you guys so much. Buy the book. It's called The Vibe. If you don't have it, buy it and then send it to a friend, and also buy it for your entire company. If you're a manager of a company, you're an owner of a company, get The Vibe and then have me come in and do a keynote on it. We'll have some fun. We'll talk to, elevate the vibe in your company, which is not the energy you bring into the room, but it's simply the way that people feel when you leave. And that can really shift so many things. So in Proverbs 25, let's hop right into it. In verse 2 and 3, it ain't that deep. Get out of your head and move. This is words from my wife. Like, it ain't that deep. Get out of your head and move. And when you start to create motion, it's amazing what can happen. Your mind, you start thinking different things. You start moving through different things, right? And so in 4 and 5, my wife is so simple. When I say simple, not that could come off wrong. She's so to the point. She's so effective, and she doesn't waste energy. And so in verse 4 and 5, it said, just remove the garbage. Like, once you remove the garbage, you see what you got, right? Clean out the clutter, see what you got. And what do you have? And some of that garbage that you think could be something that could be good, but you got to clear it out. Get it clear as possible. And my wife is very simple this way. She just says it ain't that deep. Get over it and start moving, right? And do it anyway. Even if you don't want to, even if the circumstances aren't perfect, the timing's not perfect, do it anyway. Even if it's not perfect, you'll learn something. In verse 6 and 7 is shine light on others. Shine light on others. Well, what if my business isn't going that well? What if I need to grow? And what if I need the light shine on me? Do it anyway. What if I'm down because, all this stuff? How can I shine light on other people when I'm not feeling it? Do it anyway. I just keep hearing my wife's voice in my head, and sometimes I don't want to hear it because I don't want to be held accountable to it. But it's incredible. Is verse 8 through 10. Keep it positive. Keep it positive. No matter what you're doing, make sure that you keep it as positive as you possibly can, no matter what. And this was a thing that I learned from my brother, is keeping it positive is even when, I saw a band and I saw them and they weren't that good, and I was going to video them and just do a little joke. And he just grabbed my phone, put it down, and he was like, keep it positive all the time. Keep it positive. Because somebody needs your positivity right now. It could be that lifeline that they need right now in their life. So in verse 8, in verse 8 through 10, it talks about that. In verse 11 through 14 and 26 of Proverbs 25 is ask yourself, does it make sense? So when you're going through, and I was saying do it anyway. I mean, obviously, if it's the right thing to do it anyway, no matter how you feel, no matter what the circumstances. And this is a way of being able to put yourself in a position where you can get unfair favor, you could get unwarranted advantage, but you got to ask yourself, does it make sense? Does this make sense in this situation? Does the way that I'm acting make sense based off my circumstances? And sometimes your nightmares could be somebody else's dreams. So does it make sense the way that you're reacting to that thing? In verse 15 is take a breath. And speak life. Speak life to someone today. Use their name, something specific about them, lift them up, write it down, write them a letter, whatever it is, do that as much as possible. In verse 16 and 17, deposit more than you withdraw. This means in your bank account. This means in relationships. It means everywhere around the place. What it'll help you to do is keep your mind in a place where it ain't that deep. Deposit more than you withdraw. It ain't that deep. Get over yourself and keep it moving. Do it anyway. In verse 16 through 20, great friends are invaluable. I have a testament to this for my whole entire life. My buddy Will, I went to his 50th birthday and he got me 2 Shohei Ohtani cards, the 40 and 40 and the 50 and 50 baseball card. He got me both of them for his 50th birthday. I've got great friends. My buddy Dave, I love that guy. Makes me laugh all the time. I was busted up the other night listening to Ben Harper because I thought about my pops. I'm crying, and he just hugs me, and he's like, man, I love you so much. I love you so much. I got great friends. Great friends are invaluable. In verse 21 through 25, the high road isn't the only choice, but it is highly recommended. I don't always take the high road. I don't. I told you guys about an experience in flag football where I wasn't too happy. I lost my religion. I wanted to set Jesus on the shelf. Tell him I'll come back and get you once I take care of this thing over here. And, we all do that in our lives, but understand that the high road isn't the only choice, but it's highly recommended because the high road is a place where you'll get exponential reward. In verse 27 and 28, as we finish up today, is, watch this, chill out. It's not that deep. Get out of your own head and do it anyway. That's what I hear from my wife, Brooklyn. Gangster. Chill out. It's not that deep. Get out of your own head and do it anyway. No matter how you feel, no matter how the circumstances are, whatever it is, do it anyway. My friend Baron said this the other day in his documentary, Baron Baptiste, who's going to be at the Vibe Room. And if you haven't got a chance to experience Baron Baptiste, most likely you've done his yoga, Baptiste Yoga, Core Power Yoga. That was his company. I mean, this guy is an absolute genius. He brought yoga not only to America. His parents helped to be able to help that movement happen, but also he brought yoga into the NFL. He worked. He was one of the coaches with the performance coaches with the Philadelphia Eagles when Randall Cunningham was there. This guy is incredible, and he's going to be there at the Vibe Room. It's going to be incredible. On one of his documentaries that he created a nonprofit that all over Africa, helping kids to be able to work on yoga and leadership and all these things. He said something that hit me so hard. He said, "You don't need a lot of words to tell the truth." Sit in that for a second. You don't need a lot of words to tell the truth. And so what I wrote is wisdom is often overlooked because it's hiding in plain sight. Listen to my wife, Brooklyn. It's not that deep. Get out of your head and do it anyway. I love you, baby. My name is Kelly Cardenas. If you're not going to the Vibe Room, you're missing out. If you don't have the book, you're missing out. If you haven't subscribed to the podcast, then you should turn on your notifications too, so you know when we come on. I love you all. This has been another episode of Inchstones. It's like the word Kaizen in Japanese, a series of small improvements. Never walk past poor quality. A bunch of little Inchstones piled up in your life that are celebrated, become the milestones that we're all looking for. So I hope you had a phenomenal day. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul. Achieving, cause we believing it's for certain. We put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting right before your eyes. So it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.